Hi guys, I'd like to welcome you guys all back to my channel. My voice is back. So we are here to start talking about my best and worst reads of 2018. So basically, for me, as you guys know, I think for Goodreads this year, I am at 64 or 65. Not including the Bible that I'm obviously going to finish because I read the Bible every day. So that brings my total to like 67 books this year. I exceeded my goal of 60, so I'm very happy with that. But there were some books in that mix that I was like, what is happening? So this includes books that came out this year and previous years. As long as the only ones in the category for this was obviously books that I had never read before. So without further ado, we're gonna start with, we're gonna do a mix. No, we'll start with the worst books. I have a lot to say about the worst books. So just to clarify, as I always try to do, these are my opinions, and these are based off of only the 65 books that I've read this year. And of those 65, I'm only focusing on the books that were a new read for me. So any rereads do not count because obviously I love them. That's why they're rereads. But I'm only focusing on the books that I read this year. So there will be some new 2018 releases as well as some old books that I just never got to. So I'm doing this in no particular order. I just have a stack of books and a list. So I'm just going to start. So the first book that's on my disappointing reads was Neverworld's Wake by Marisha Pessl. This is actually going to be donated to my friend's school library. It is I think it's described as like a thriller-esque kind of book. I like the idea of the book. I knew who was being saved from the very first page of the book. So it was like I didn't really care what happened to everyone else because I knew a certain person was going to be alive. So for that, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain the feelings for this book. I just know that after reading it, I felt very underwhelmed and was just kind of like, whatever. Like, I bought this book, but I regret buying this book, basically. Another book on this list is from an author that I actually really enjoy reading from, and that is Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor. I know that this was supposed to be like a sci-fi thriller kind of feel of a book, but this book was just very confusing to me. I felt like the main plot of the story was very clear, but I don't feel like anything was ever actually accomplished. I don't feel like anything ever made sense. The three main characters and all their side characters, it was so confusing. I didn't know what the heck I was reading at some point. My friend recommended that I read this. I also bought this because it was on sale at I think it was like Book Outlet. I got it for like $6. So I'm actually going to see if my friend who liked this book, if she wants it. Otherwise, this too is getting donated to the library or something because there's no point for me to have this book. I'm never picking up this book again. I was so confused and just over it. And I forced myself to finish it because I didn't want to have another DNF moment. Another book that I was not a big fan of is American Street by Ibi Zoboi. You guys know that I really liked her book Pride that came out like a month or two ago. Felt like it was great, but American Street just pissed me off, if I'm being very honest. It focuses on a girl who immigrated from Haiti. She lives with her cousins. Of course, her cousins are drug dealers. Like, maybe I felt like she was like too naive, if that makes sense. It was like, you could not be this clean. Like, there's no way that you're not picking up on these signals. Like, I don't know. I felt like if I were watching this in a movie, I would have been madder because I was just like, girl, you cannot be this dumb. So I wasn't a fan. It was a very cliche story. I felt like I knew everything that was going to happen. I wasn't a fan, basically. I know there are a lot of people that really love this book and would probably come for my neck. But as usual, with my opinions, I'm not going to take back my opinion because you have a different one. You're free to have your own. Another book on my list, which is actually a DNF, which I don't know why it's on my list, but we'll talk about it. It's Circe. I like the mythological books. I like retellings. I did not like Circe. I got like 180 pages in and I was still very bored. Found myself struggling to even want to pick up the book to continue to read it. It was a disappointing release for 2018 for me. I just wasn't there for it at all. Very glad I didn't buy it like I thought to. So I was like, yeah, I saved money and time. Another book on my worst reading list for this year is one of my most anticipated books of the year, which is If You Leave Me. I talked about this a lot in one of my wrap-ups, but the story is presented as if you're going through or talking about two star-crossed lovers like that go through the Korean War and end up finding each other. You know, that kind of thing. So it was more like I was expecting like that kind of historical fiction. Instead, it was more of a story about mental illness and PTSD. And I felt like the way that they chose to go about it was kind of messed up. It just... like, they kept trying to say love was a thing, but really, I was like, every one of these people in this story need therapy. She needs medication. Like, I don't know. It was a book about mental health that was disguised as a historical fiction love story. So I found the book interesting more for the fact that, like, I started looking at it as, like, a mental health thing because I really wanted to know what was going on. But at the same time, it was just kind of like, nah, it ended terribly. It just, everything about it, I was just not impressed or happy about that at all. Another book that you guys know that I was just not a fan of was Rainbirds. And I will never not be disappointed with Rainbirds. I can't understand who was giving this book accolades. It was just like, it's supposed to be about this guy's sister was murdered. So he ends up going to the town where she was murdered to try to figure out what happens to her. Basically, however, all this book was about was him trying not to commit statutory rape, basically, because that's literally most of the book was about him and his interaction with one of the girls that went to the school that he taught at. It was just the most awkward thing. Like, every time I listened, because I listened to it via audiobook, I was just like, ugh, like, tell this little girl to go home. Why are you even entertaining? Oh, you kissed? What is happening? I mean, you do learn what happened to her sister, but it's more like an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, like, this book was supposed to be about that murder. So, like, FYI, this is what happened. And then it goes back to him and, like, him registering his feelings about this girl. And I'm like, she's a minor. How is this even a good book? What is happening? Y'all know I don't do pedophiles or anything of that nature. I can't do it. They all deserve to be burned. So to read about it, I was just like, are we going to address the fact that this is, like, real serious moments? Like, well, she handles herself as an older woman. She's still a child, bro. So it was a very pedophilia moment for me, and I was not a fan. So the last book on my worst reads this year, which I know people are going to be like, what? It's Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Now, I know, oh my God, Brittany, how could you not like that book? The book was trash. It's supposed to be about another book that was supposed to be about a murder, but they really should have been focusing on this girl's germophobia and her weird OCD habits. And maybe could have made it focus about that. Like, it was the most confusing murder mystery story ever. I don't know if I've just grown past John Green now that I'm an adult. I don't know, because I haven't read one of his books in a while. So I don't know if that's what it is, but I felt like this book was poorly done. I felt that the main character was just as confused as I was in her own story. I felt that the actual murder didn't make sense. Again, it was another one of those, like, they tried to make you think that that was the main focus, but you're mainly focusing on this girl's insane OCD-esque habits that happened from a tragedy that happened in her life. So you're just like, should I care about the murder or should I be more concerned with this girl? Also, they did this little trash explanation of the title. The title doesn't make sense. Their explanation of the title didn't make sense. I was all around disappointed with this book. I used to have owned this book, but I already gave this book to the library, to my friend's student library. As far as I'm concerned, maybe they'll appreciate it more. I was not a fan. So if I had it, I would definitely give it away. Was not a fan at all. So thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. We're going to have more book videos, and don't worry, planner videos are coming. They're being recorded. So until the next time, guys, bye.